Hey everyone, welcome to Travel Tracer. Today we're diving into a topic that's not so glamorous but absolutely fascinating: the 10 dirtiest cities in America. Some of these cities might surprise you and you won't believe what makes them so filthy. Stick around to find out if your city made the list, and trust me, you won't want to miss number 1. Number 10, New York City, New York. Let's kick things off with one of the most famous cities in the world, New York City. While New York is iconic for its skyline, culture, and energy, it's also infamous for something less glamorous: its garbage. With over 8 million people crammed into such a dense area, it's no surprise that NYC generates more than 12,000 tons of waste every day. If you've ever walked through Manhattan, especially in the summer, you know how bad it can get. Huge piles of trash line the streets, sometimes blocking sidewalks, and the smell, well, let's just say it's unforgettable. The city's rat problem is another issue. New York consistently ranks as one of the most rat-infested cities in the U.S. Rats thrive in the waste, which only makes things worse. Despite efforts to improve waste management, like the introduction of high-tech trash compactors and increased recycling programs, New York continues to struggle under the weight of its own waste. Number 9, Houston, Texas. Next on the list is Houston, Texas, a sprawling city that's synonymous with the oil and gas industry. This industry is both a blessing and a curse for Houston. It powers the economy but also fills the air with pollutants. Houston is known for having some of the worst air quality in the country, largely due to the numerous oil refineries and industrial plants that surround the city. On days when the wind isn't blowing, the smog just sits there, creating a haze that makes it hard to see the skyline. The hot and humid weather doesn't help either, making the pollution feel even more oppressive. Ozone levels often exceed safe limits, and this has serious health impacts for residents, especially those with asthma or respiratory issues. Houston has been working to reduce emissions through regulations and incentives for greener practices, but the city's reliance on fossil fuels makes real change difficult. Number 8, San Bernardino, California. San Bernardino is a city that might not be on everyone's radar, but it's certainly on this list. Located in California's Inland Empire, San Bernardino suffers from a number of pollution-related problems, particularly poor air quality. The city sits in a valley, which means pollution gets trapped and hangs around for days, sometimes even weeks. Smog is a constant presence here, thanks to emissions from cars, trucks, and nearby industries. On top of the air pollution, San Bernardino has a significant litter problem. Public spaces like parks, streets, and even school grounds are often littered with trash, leading to a sense of neglect. Residents have voiced their frustration with the lack of attention to this issue, and while community cleanup efforts are in place, it's a problem that keeps growing. The city's financial struggles only add to the challenge, as resources for sanitation and environmental protection are limited. Number 7, Fresno, California. Another Californian city with major pollution problems is Fresno. Located in the heart of the state's agricultural Central Valley, Fresno is surrounded by farms that contribute significantly to the region's air pollution. Dust from the fields, combined with pesticide drift and emissions from farm equipment, creates a toxic mix that fills the air. On top of that, Fresno is frequently affected by wildfire smoke, which has become a regular occurrence during the dry California summers. The geography of the Central Valley traps pollutants, so the bad air just hangs there, sometimes for days on end. Fresno regularly ranks as one of the worst cities in the U.S. for both ozone pollution and particle pollution. Health problems like asthma are common here, especially among children. The city is also struggling with waste management, and illegal dumping is a persistent issue in some neighborhoods. Fresno is trying to improve its air quality by promoting alternative energy sources and encouraging the use of electric vehicles, but change is slow. Number 6, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Moving over to the East Coast, we have Philadelphia, a city rich in history but also unfortunately rich in trash and pollution. Philly's industrial past still haunts it today, with many parts of the city plagued by air pollution from factories and power plants. The city's infamous trash problem has made headlines multiple times, with residents often complaining about garbage piling up in the streets. Some neighborhoods are worse than others, with trash bins overflowing and litter strewn across sidewalks and parks. A lot of the city's waste management challenges stem from underfunded programs and outdated infrastructure. The air quality in Philadelphia is also a concern, particularly around industrial zones. High levels of particulate matter and ozone pollution are common, making it tough for residents with respiratory issues. The city is trying to address these issues by modernizing its waste management system and increasing fines for illegal dumping, but the battle is far from over. Number 5. Detroit, Michigan. Once a powerhouse of American industry, Detroit has struggled with a variety of problems since the decline of its auto industry, and pollution is one of the biggest. The city is dotted with abandoned buildings and vacant lots that have become hotspots for illegal dumping. Old industrial sites contribute to soil contamination, and some areas are considered environmental hazards. On top of that, Detroit's air quality ranks poorly due to pollution from factories and transportation, especially heavy trucks. The city's economic struggles mean that resources for cleanup are limited, and many parts of Detroit feel neglected. Despite these issues, there is hope. Community groups are stepping up with cleanup efforts, and the city has been working on revitalization projects to attract new businesses and residents. However, the legacy of industrial pollution and waste is something that will take decades to fully address. Number 4. Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles is famous for its glamour, but if you look past the Hollywood glitz, the reality of life in LA includes a lot of pollution. The city has been battling smog for decades, and while there have been improvements, LA still ranks as one of the most polluted cities in America. A lot of this comes from the sheer number of cars on the road. Millions of vehicles contribute to traffic jams and air pollution on a daily basis. The city's geography, surrounded by mountains, traps the smog, making it difficult for pollution to disperse. On top of air pollution, LA has a significant litter problem. From the beaches to downtown streets, you'll often find trash littering public spaces. Homeless encampments, which have grown over the years, also contribute to sanitation issues as public services struggle to keep up with the needs of the growing population. While the city has made efforts to improve public transportation and promote greener living, LA's environmental issues remain a persistent challenge. Number 3. Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey might be smaller than its neighbor New York City, but when it comes to pollution, it holds its own. Newark is one of the most industrialized cities in the U.S., and the pollution from factories and transportation hubs like Newark Airport and the Port of Newark is staggering. The city suffers from severe air pollution, with some areas recording high levels of toxic chemicals and particulate matter in the air. This has serious health consequences for residents, many of whom live in low-income neighborhoods where pollution levels are highest. Trash is another big issue in Newark, especially in industrial areas where illegal dumping is rampant. Newark has taken steps to improve its environmental conditions, including stricter regulations on industrial emissions, but it's an uphill battle, especially with limited resources. Number 2. Bakersfield, California. Bakersfield, California may not get as much attention as Los Angeles or San Francisco, but it definitely stands out when it comes to pollution. Surrounded by farms, this city faces some of the worst air quality in the nation, largely due to agricultural practices, vehicle emissions, and wildfires. Pesticides from nearby farms can be carried into the city by the wind, and the Central Valley's geography traps pollution, leading to days where the air quality is so bad residents are advised to stay indoors. Bakersfield has also been heavily impacted by the state's wildfire seasons, which add smoke and ash to the already poor air. In addition to air pollution, Bakersfield deals with issues like litter and illegal dumping, particularly in less affluent areas. The city has implemented some measures to combat pollution, like encouraging alternative farming practices and offering incentives for electric vehicles, but the overall situation remains dire. Number 1. Chicago, Illinois. Topping our list as the dirtiest city in America is Chicago. The Windy City may have world-class architecture, art, and food, but it also has serious pollution problems. Chicago's air quality is often poor, particularly around industrial areas and along major highways. The city is a transportation hub with countless trucks, trains, and ships passing through, all of which contribute to emissions. In addition to the air pollution, Chicago struggles with waste management. Public parks, streets, and even the Chicago River are often littered with trash. The river, once heavily polluted by industrial waste, has improved somewhat, but it still faces challenges with sewage overflows and pollution from runoff. While the city has made efforts to clean up its act, including launching sustainability programs and expanding recycling initiatives, it remains a constant struggle to keep up with the waste generated by a city of nearly 3 million people.